before we start, I'd like to introduce my dear friend, Paolo Malinverno, our new head of innovation and strategy at Sensedia. Paolo and I and some other team from Sensedia were attending recently the Gartner Symposium in Orlando. And I think that most of you are very interested in the event and the content of that conference. Many of you, I think, were also at the conference. And we decided to do this session today so Paolo could share some insights with his 20 plus years as analyst from Gartner, to share some insights on the content that was shown at the conference and how can we leverage those trends for our planning process for the years to come.
Thanks for the introduction. As I said, and you can put the slides on in the meantime, Lucas. As I said, I've been an analyst 23 years. I used to be presenting and in some cases chairing Gartner conferences in the past. Now, obviously going to these conferences without being a speaker and without doing one-on-ones is quite an experience for me. But I thought, we would do this session and we will pack a little bit of fun in it, just for everybody to know. So I will give you my own sensations as an Gartner analyst and as somebody who has been an analyst for a very long time on what was said, the consequences for Sensedia clients and prospects, and for Sensedia as well. That's really what is packed in. Obviously, it was a 4 days conferences, and you can go to the next slide, please, Lucas. It was a 4 days conference, it was packed with things, and there was a lot being discussed, in this event. It was generally dominated by AI, especially generative AI, which is the flavor of AI that is on everybody's mouths at the moment, and everybody wants to talk and learn about it. There is a lot of information I can share with you, and hopefully we will have some fun, as I said, in the next 40 minutes or so. Now, what I have selected for you are 8 key takeaways that I think are significant for the space where Sensedia plays and the space where you are as clients, as prospects, or as simply end users. I know you are everywhere. I salute obviously the Brazilians who are part of the audience, so obrigado para participar. And I strangely speak Portuguese with an English accent, even if I'm Italian, I don't know why. But obviously, I also salute all the others who are joining from the rest of Latin America or anywhere else in the world, including the US. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, this is going to be interactive. I want you to drive this session. What I'm going to ask you now, and I see people trickling in, so as you are in, you will be able to vote. If you look at this 8, which ones really you would like to hear about first? So, as I said, these are the ones that I think are most significant. I didn't want to start a presentation by making that call myself, but I would love you to drive the decision on really what we're going to cover and what comes next. Just a few, you have now a dialogue on screen that is asking you to choose, is a single choice, so is your top really session and based on which of these four you will vote for, then we will decide where to go next. Let me just give you literally a 3 seconds presentation for each one of them. The first one is in general about where AI is going, where we want it to go, and also where AI is going to take us. Because as you know, if it's intelligent, it's going to make decisions. The second one is the impact of AI, and especially generative AI, on applications development. The third one is about the impact on applications in general. The fourth one, you can see that is in Sensedia purple. It's because there is a little game that I've prepared for you into that number 4. So I really, really hope we get to cover that, because you're going to participate into another fun quiz. The fifth one is in general about what is important in banking. If you are in banking, that's obviously important for you. If you are not in banking, it is still very, very important for you if you want to pick that, not just because anybody has a bank or more than one, like in many cases, but because as a company, you always have to deal with financial institutions. So don't just pick 5. If you're a bank, you can pick 5. Also, if you're anything like a retailer or even, in government. Number 6 is about the general technology trends, not just for 2024, for the next year, but also going forward. The 7th is about platform engineering, which is a very big topic, not a new one, but it's a very big topic going forward, and somewhere where obviously you as individuals and Sensedia will have to partake. And then, the 8th one is, okay, we have had legacy IT for about 40 years. So will AI put an end to all of these bits of code that we cannot change? So now I'm going to open now this poll for votes. Please start voting, and we'll see then what the results are and what this presentation is about. Okay.
Yes. So Paolo, the team, the people have been voting, and Renata, I think we have over 20 participations on the vote. I think we can bring it up, the results. And you would be surprised, Paolo, because...
Oh, thank you, guys.
We're tied.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right.
Top strategic prediction. I don't know. Should we start with that, or should we start with it? There is another one at 38%. I don't know. What are we? Well, we'll do them. We'll do I'd say we do the predictions.
Fantastic.
The result. We do them first, Lucas, if you agree. By the way,
yes.
Lucas, maybe because you can ask me questions throughout, what I will try to answer. Lucas, maybe you can suggest which way the audience can ask me questions.
Yes, definitely. So we have the chat on Zoom open here. So guys, if you want to have any questions answered, send it over on the chat. We'll try to answer all the questions, but we'll try to keep under our time constraints here. We'll try to answer most of the questions that you guys ask. All right. So Paolo, I'm gonna pause my screen sharing for a minute so I can go straight to the first topic.
Okay. The top strategic predictions for 2024. The way each one of these 8 is going to work is that I'm going to show a Gartner slide, and then I'm going to show a slide in which I put one or two slides in which I put some comments on it. And then we're going to open, Lucas is going to kind of keep an eye on the questions, and we're going to take at least one question at the end of each one. Okay.
Perfect.
And so let's get going. Now, you can see here there's quite a lot in terms of top strategic predictions. Obviously, there's 10 of them, and we don't have the time to go through each one of them. There are some of them that are particularly interesting. The first one is particularly interesting, that AI is going to make us seem better than we are. It's not only about making us look younger or like a puppet if you go on a metaverse. Is only that, is obviously by making us more intelligent in our jobs, being able to take away some of the chores that we have to do. That to me certainly is the one that stands out. Actually, maybe I like also to draw your attention, obviously on the 5th, which is about legacy modernization. We have one. I don't remember how many votes we had on that. I don't think we had any, but we might revisit that as we go into this presentation. The 6th and the 7th are particularly interesting for me because it talks about the robot workers and it talks about machine customers. So these are not humans, because they're not humans. Natural language for them is uncomfortable. And the best language for them is APIs, because that's what they're going to do. This is what I want. I'm going to call this API on this platform and make sure that I get what I want. Also, 8 is particularly interesting. It's about malinformation. By now, Lucas, you can go to the next slide. Gartner calls this 2023 the year everything changed, because they really believe the generative AI is going to be a kind of a life-changing trend, like the introduction of the internet, for example, or of the iPhone. It is at that level of importance. So don't think it's another metaverse. Don't think it's another blockchain. According to Gartner, this, and I can see why. I mean, I've been in IT 40 years. This type of things only happen in the space of 40 years, probably 4 or 5 times. And I can see the potential of it. I was a bit skeptical about the metaverse. I was a bit skeptical of blockchain. If we get to the hype cycle, I will explain why. I'm not that skeptical. I'm just scared of generative AI. And the reason why I'm scared is because look at that malinformation point that you can see. Well, I like the word malinformation because it shares the first 5 letters with my surname. But it's about basically all of this information that is constructed by AI and is difficult to tell apart from what is real, okay? There is a lot now with deep fakes. You can literally do everything. You can get people to say things they never said. You can make videos about people doing things that they never did. So it's very, very important to find out, which way we can figure out whether something was good or was fake news or malinformation. And by the way, it is 20 times cheaper to create a deepfake than it is to prove it as a deepfake. So obviously, we are going to see a lot of these things. Now, the little game, you can see now at the bottom of the slide, as we're indicating, there are 2 predictions there. One is in the center, and it starts with the by 2026 in blue, And he reads, virtual and augmented reality will be used to create immersive learning and allow more realistic learning paths. The second one that starts with a light green in 2026, 30% of workers will leverage digital charisma filters. Well, I can tell you a little bit about those if you want, to achieve previously unattainable advances in their careers. So these are two predictions, those previsoi. And the reason why I'm putting those two out is because one of them is a real prediction written by a real Gartner analyst. The other one is a prediction that is being generated using generative AI. So, stuff like GPT or Bard. I'm not saying which one. So, because if I were still an analyst, I would just try that out. I would just feed, GPT with all of my prediction and say, so tell me what I should predict now, and I would just try it for fun, obviously, and this is a bit of fun. So one of those two predictions, one in between the blue and the green, is generate, let's call it not fake, although it is fake because it's not being generated by the minds of a Gartner analyst. So one of them is being generated by AI, the other one is being written by a Gartner analyst. What I'm asking you, read those predictions well, and I'm asking you to vote. Which one, according to you, and guys, throw yourself into it, okay? We're going to give you a little bit of time for this. So I'm going to ask you, which one of the two do you think was written by Gartner? So is it the blue one or is it the green one? And we can bring up the votes now. Maybe people are voting already. I don't know, Lucas. Do you have a few votes in already?
Not yet, Paolo. Can I put it on the screen?
Yes, please.
Tell them to pick the one in blue or the one in green. The center of the screen, it doesn't.
Okay, so basically you should pick either the second answer or the third answer. Okay. I'm going to give you like 2 minutes to think about it. And please, Renata and Lucas, tell me when we have enough answers to keep going. I'm going to say a couple of words on what is on the left of the screen while you are thinking about it, and ignore me for the next minute if you still are trying to figure out which one was written by Gartner between those two. Obviously, generative AI is helping. It aims to help, at least, whatever we do every day in our daily job. And that's why a lot of predictions concentrate on that, on how we can use this thing at best. But, it's also about businesses. It's about how businesses can take advantage of generative AI and, get better as businesses, really, The point is that as generative AI comes in, we all see that Terminator scenario approaching, right? Do you remember? If you didn't see the Terminator movies, please do, and take that as the first bit of advice I give you in this call. But, that is a scenario where machines have taken over the world because they think they can run it better than humans. And then they actively pursue the destruction of humans. So without being that pessimistic, so obviously, generative AI can take control, and that creates a whole set of new threats. Now, let me just go back to see if we have enough answers. in this?
Yes, we do.
We do.
Okay,
Yes, we
let's
do,
have a look
man.
at the answers.
There we go.
Oh, it's very close. Very
Yes.
close.
Isn't it?
So the one in blue tends to take over. So a very slight majority of you thinks that the one in blue is the one generated by Gartner analysts. The slight majority. Now, let's go to the next slide, Lucas, because that contains the answer. The point is,
Here you go.
the slight majority of you picked the wrong one. That is the one that was generated by AI. Now, if I was Gartner, I would think quite a lot about the results of this little game. In reality, it was the one on the right. The one on the right was written by Gartner. I can tell you why. I thought that the left one was from generative AI. It's because the first part of the prediction doesn't relate much to the second. There is no mention of learning in the first part of the prediction. The learning comes in the second. Okay. Now, also because it kind of links virtual and augmented reality, which is very, very metaverse heavy, to real learning. I know that generative AI is heavily skewed by how much information it ingests, and it ingests a lot of information about the metaverse. So that's why I kind of, figured it out. Well, you can think whatever you want about this anyway. But also, I leave you with one chilling doubt, and that is in the title of this slide. Real is in Sensedia orange, and there's a question mark. So which one is real? Which one is a real prediction? Most of you thought that the one on the left was real. Does that make it real? And this goes at the bottom of what we call fake news today. But anyway, this was good fun. So thank you for participating. Any question, Lucas?
Yes, Paolo, I do have one question about it. And because what this experiment just showed us is that this might be the blurring between what is human created work of a human mind versus the work of a generative AI. You give us some insights on how, for instance, to recognize what a Gartner prediction is versus what a Gen AI is. But can we predict, and I quote that maybe we will see the creation of mechanisms to identify what is AI generated content, AI generated code, or AI generated whatever. We've been seeing some discussion around, let's say, DALL-E adding a digital watermark to the images that are generated by an AI, so we can identify that. So how do you see this evolving into this scenario?
Well, that has been going on for a while. Because as I said, generating deep fakes is much cheaper than proving a deep fake wrong. That has been going also because, we can get easily into political here and in, using AI to skew elections and through generally social media, which is what has been happening for a very long time now, years and years. So that work on trying to understand really what is generated by AI and what is not has been going on for a while. Not much success, I'm afraid to say, because the more clever AI gets, the more difficult it is to find it out. I might remind you about the beginning of another movie, which is Blade Runner, which starts with a test. It is so difficult to tell, basically, what Blade Runner is about, which is about these androids that were, better than humans at specific tasks. It's very, very difficult to tell them apart from real humans, and that was exactly the thought of the writer of Blade Runner. But anyway, sorry, we're going philosophical very quickly, but it is philosophical. Maybe we should move on to another topic.
Yes, let me pause my sharing so I can. So another topic that was heavily voted, Paolo, was the top strategic technology trends for 2024.
Okay, let's have it.
Bring this up because I think this connects directly to it. So here we are.
As you can see, there's a lot of them. Okay, so Gartner has grouped them into these three main buckets: protect your investment, deliver the value, and rise the builders. The rise of the builders, and in particular, platform engineering and AI augmented development, is what is most interesting for Sensedia's clients, and in general for the market where Sensedia operates. So that would be the one in light green, which was Gartner, if you remember, the prediction, in light green in the center of the screen. I do have a specific one on AI augmented development, which we might get to cover in this presentation. Maybe if you go to the next slide, let's go straight to my comments. The first comment is that the point is that I've been in this industry for a very long time, and for a very long time, whenever we did a symposium, there was always the 3-4 things that was on everybody's mouth. The real difference now is that there's not 4 or 5 things people are talking about. There's at least 80 of them. Okay, so that's why Gartner says everything is trending everywhere all at once, because all of these things are happening, and then you have this big wave of AI that is sweeping through all of us. Let's just focus on platform engineering for a while. I do have a platform engineering topic as well, which defines it a little bit more precisely. It's about building platforms to have ecosystems using it. The ecosystems typically start with developers. So it's about offering developers a way to develop what they need to develop quicker, faster, and with starting from the right building blocks, which, as you can tell, has a lot of composability in it, which is not something obviously we discover now. Platform engineering has become to the fore. As probably, if I had to pick one of those 4 or 5, if I put AI at the side, if I had to pick a major trend that is very significant, I would put probably platform engineering there, because it is something that really to me is the son or the daughter of the API economy. Okay, do you remember the API economy? 2008, 2009, people used to come up with APIs, put them on the web, and then people would just self-serve in them. That was platform engineering already. Only the platform wasn't engineered. We do this. We have these APIs. Let's float them. Let's hope somebody would turn up and use them. So it wasn't really any platform engineering. It was just, sticking something somewhere and hope for the best. And actually, that didn't work very well, because a lot of APIs didn't get used. So platform engineering is totally different. It's about only doing the things that the developers need. It's not about doing the things that a company wants to sell. It's about not what you want to sell. It's about what people want to buy. Okay, you have to put them from that perspective. So that's a good trend. Industry cloud platforms might be an example of them. Because industry cloud platforms now have been around for a while. There was proper platform engineering going through them. And these platforms are very, very adaptable and allow you to build the solution quicker and to innovate quicker. So as I said, I have a few of those that are in the rest of my presentation, so we might go there next. Any question, Lucas, on this before we move to something else?
Yes, Paolo, one of the things that I saw at the Gartner conference, and I think it was on the keynote, on the opening keynote of the conference, was about productivity might be the first, how can I say, the first benefit of AI, right? So we might think how to be more productive, how to be do our jobs faster and better, right? But within this scenario of platform engineering, obviously the productivity comes first when you think about adopting AI on it or improve the speed of development. But how also, connecting the previous topics, how also will AI impact platform engineering as well?
There's plenty of AI. You can put conversational interfaces when people are looking for specific components. And obviously, there's a lot of that you can do. Also, platform engineering, there's a lot of AI produced, when you engineer a platform, you're obviously developing stuff. You're developing reusables for somebody else, for the developers to use. When you do that, there's a lot of AI, and we can, if we go actually to the topic about how AI is changing application development and how AI is changing applications, then, we can see a little bit more detail of that. But there's a lot of AI tools that are involved in that production. And there's a lot of AI tools that are involved in actually selecting what was produced. So I think for the sake of time, I'm very interested in getting more of these things. So let's go on.
And curiously, Paolo, how would generative AI radically change application development was the third most voted topic. So that's where we're
let's have a look at that then. Let's go there next. And by the way, guys, if you want to change that order and say, look, Lucas, I'm going to drop dead if Paolo doesn't talk about legacy modernization. Well, then, do send that comment in, and maybe do send that comment, and we'll change this order. How is it changing application development? Well, you can see that kind of blue arrow. This is a classical infinity diagram, that describes application development. You can see the blue circle on the left. That's where AI is typically more productive at the moment. You have a bit of detail in this slide on what Gartner believes, are the things that could be done. More than what could be done, I'm interested in what works today. Okay. So if you go to the next slide, we're going to explore a little bit of that. The thing is that we're today, and you look at that word in Sensedia orange that is currently. Everything I say today, okay, is about what AI does today. It's getting better, okay? So maybe next year I will have a different list here of things that AI can do better. But today, this is what it does. Now, you can see in italics, top left corner of the slide, really what AI does for development tools is basically getting right in the environments where engineers work to produce code and basically helping them out right there. At the moment, there are good results in terms of productivity, as Lucas was saying. There are good results in terms of generating code, refactoring it, especially from one language to another, typically older language to a newer language, which obviously has an impact on legacy modernization. What AI is particularly good today is in generating documentation, maybe not just generating code per se, but analyzing the code, what it does, very, very good suggestions on how to restructure the code. Those are very effective. And obviously documenting the code. I've been in IT and in technology for about 45 years. I still have to meet a developer who loves writing documentation. The AI actually does a pretty good job at that. That's an immediate gain. Another good thing that AI can do in application development is testing. That is another thing AI is extremely good at. It can write test code, generate test data, generate stubs, especially for APIs that you still didn't have the time to develop. So that's what AI does well. And is there today? You can take advantage of it today, okay? And the gains are significant. You can see fairly pompous statements on the internet, on the press, about, we saved half of our time, or the developer's productivity has gone up 100%. Well, maybe not. But, the development gains here are significant. They range about between 20 and 40% in terms of productivity of the developers. So that is certainly something to give a go to today.
Yeah, and Paolo, on that subject, do you think that AI will also change the way that developers consume APIs? Not only write code, but they actually consume the APIs.
I have to go back to the first thing that I selected. Do you remember the first thing that I selected, the first key takeaway I selected? The one that says that we change AI and AI changes us.
Yes,
that is the thing that is scary, because it's not only about us shaping AI. Of course, as a developer, you say, well, if it's going to make my life easier, I'm going to use this thing. Forget about what it does to me. But then what does it really do to you? It changes your work, you are there as everybody else to identify opportunities. Well, if I could get AI to do this for me, at least to, generate this very little bit of code. Okay, it would save me the 20 minutes. If I could, and that's where most of the things most of the AI, will be concentrated, especially in the next year. What you see in the center of the screen, identify your everyday AI opportunities. That's you shaping AI, okay? And obviously, that's an active role. Once AI starts trickling in and making decisions for you, because you use AI, say, to generate documentation, right? Because you don't like writing documentation. You read the first, you read the second, and then they get better and better. And then you say, okay, fine. I'm not going to bother reading the fifth, the sixth, or the second, or the seventh. That's AI shaping you because you trust it. Okay, you trust it, and so that is the thing that this really has. Actually, the whole keynote of Symposium was about this. And if we go to the next slide, what is the most urgent thing to do? Well, really, two, according to me. Creating the principles. What do I want AI to change? What am I allowing AI to shape? Because I want to shape AI. I want, to do things for me. But, the first thing that I have to decide is what sometimes is called your territory, So, and the AI territory. The AI territory is going to be very small and it's going to grow. As soon as trust or lack of trusts, shaping, and the principles are everything, because this algorithms are, and this kind of AI, all AI machine learning really, really works as well and as good is the data that you use to train it. Okay. You can give your own bias to AI, and it's going to be just like another human, only without morals. Okay. So that is the most important thing. Create principles. It has to be ethical. It has to be respectful. Because that will make you choose the data you use to train not only large language models, but any machine learning. Okay. And by the way, because and I'll hopefully we'll get to that, because one thing I have to warn you before on is this thing that I call AI washing. Because AI is on everybody's mouths now, everything is AI. I changed my glasses, okay, yesterday, and so I'm given the new glasses, and on the paper bag the glasses came in. Your lenses have been generated with AI, and there is no AI in generating lenses. It's a process that has been there for about 15 years. Is a way of measuring your sight with pretty simple and mechanical machinery, and is a way of cutting the lenses. So everybody's going to use AI to make marketing and sales marketing. So be careful about that. If it's AI, it learns and it takes decisions. Okay, it doesn't learn or it doesn't take decision. It's not AI. Very, very simple. Okay, so that's why the principles are important. So in terms of enforcing the principles, because I think it is the next slide. Would you try the next slide for me? Because our mantra, in Sensedia is this: there's no AI without APIs, and there isn't, and I'll tell you why in a second. But there's a lot that API gateways, because in fact, when you're going to embed AI into your own applications, you're going to call APIs. Those APIs will have to go through a gateway. I really hope they do, because then you can enforce not just the security policies and the plain like authentication things that you would do, but also you can build your own ethic-based policies on what this API returns, okay? If the results of the API are not matching your guiding principles, okay? You know, and for example, you know, you say, oh, please, you know, give me the list of the most popular actors. And then you just get returned a list of actors of a certain race entity. Then you know this is not fair. So you can always have a policy that says, maybe that does not match with my principles. API gateways are great in that. So the reason why there is no AI without APIs is because APIs will be everywhere whenever you embed AI into applications. We might actually go to the next in a minute. Just let's stay on that for a second. Next, we can do probably the other one on why AI is changing applications. But look at the bottom of the screen. 3 days ago, OpenAI, which you know, you might know, is the company between GPT, behind GPT, has done a Developers Day. And they opened up their own app store to all developers. Well, you can go, and there is a link there. You can see the proceedings of the conference. Have a look at the Assistance API as an example. Because, you know, the Developer Day, that's Open API becoming a platform, right? They engineered this platform for developers to come on and develop probably gazillions of applications using their APIs, you know. So there we go. You know, there's nothing new about that. It's a platform ecosystem model. But again, APIs are everywhere there. So if you don't believe this, go and check. It's not only me saying that. It's not only Sensedia saying that.
It is almost like we have AI as a service, Paolo, because it will be embedded in other applications that you'll be using on a daily basis, right? So
Yeah.
how do you think that this companies, especially enterprises, will deal with that? Because we'll have AI embedded into other applications like your CRM or your ERP will be using an AI in background, right? So how will companies be able to know if they're using certain AI engine or another? Or will it make a difference for the industry? Let's say if your CRM uses BART or uses GPT or uses another AI engine. So we will have multiple AI engines within the companies? What do you think about it?
Most likely, yes. How do you know which AI from which company you're using? Simple. Look on the gateway. Look at the API calls. Well, it's very, very easy, you know, to do that. You know, then obviously you have to trust, you know, these companies you're calling the APIs of. You have to know their limitations. You know, obviously always ask yourself if this company has any interest in giving you a skewed result to the API that you're calling, because if they do, most likely the API result will be biased, you know, but and that's goes actually well beyond common sense.
Yeah.
So, but maybe we should go, I don't know, what's next in line? Do we have time for more?
I think we have time for one more. Let me just go straight to the next one, and the next one is how generative AI will change applications. And you're completely right.
Well, that was the one I was hoping to
You
cover.
built exactly like that, Paolo. I
was
think
really
those are the
hoping. I was really
10
hoping.
years as analysts predicting
Well,
people's minds.
okay. So applications. When I say applications, I mean all applications. Okay. Everything. From the app on your mobile phone to your good old SAP interface. Okay. Everything. Any application. Now, you can see this. Gartner identifies 4 main areas for this change. It starts with an area that is prompt engineering. What is prompt engineering? When you, I don't know, when you use, for example, chat GPT, you ask a question, right? Prompt engineering is the way you articulate that question with keywords so that you get a result without hallucinations. So, that sometimes generative AI gets it wrong. And actually, I'm very glad that we talked about that, because it took me up to the end of this presentation to say that generative AI does get it wrong, fairly frequently. As humans, we tend to forget about that. We tend to focus on what does it right. And actually, most of this presentation was about what AI does right. Okay. But it gets it wrong very, very quickly and very, very frequently. And the point is, to your own point, Lucas, this is even difficult to, understand that, well, that was the wrong answer. Because this is very believable. Look at the prediction. Sometimes they're very believable. And actually, so the way you ask, think about AI as, I don't know, in Italy where I grew up, I remember when I was a little boy, I would always bump into very kind of old, grumpy men, old, grumpy people, that would, say, oh, you're a kid, I don't want to listen to you, And, but then I found out that, if you were talking to these grumpy people in a specific way, with the right words, you will get answers back. Now, so think about AI like a grumpy old man, that you just have to ask the questions the right way, otherwise they just hallucinate. Okay, that's the way generative AI is today. Okay, so the way you ask a question, and prompt engineering, makes a huge difference on how good the answer that you get back. That's why prompt engineering is here. You might ask yourself, what has this to do with applications? Well, and we can go to the next slide. The reason why we're talking about prompt engineering, because we're going to talk to applications. Okay. And is this happening tomorrow for all the applications? Certainly not. Okay. Is this happening tomorrow for all applications not in English? Certainly not, even less than everything else, because again, we are biased by what works. Obviously, talking to these generative AI engines in English works much better. I'm sure you tried Portuguese. I'm sure the friends of Latin America tried Spanish. And if there is anybody listening to this from a region that doesn't have a prime language, they will know that, even conversational interfaces, in their languages are far from reliable. So, but we're going to talk to applications, and it's going to come in the years. I mean, I'm 63 now. I'd say by the time this makes a huge difference to applications, I'll probably be retired, sipping red wine beside a pool in Tuscany. But this is coming. This is coming. But also the consequences of talking to applications are huge. Are we going to say goodbye to keyboards? Are we not going to use a keyboard anymore? Okay. How does, and then there are all the accents. You know, it's easy to say we understand English, but, you know, did you ever try voice recognition? You know, I lived in Scotland for a while. There was no way voice recognition in English would work in Scotland, especially in Glasgow, if you spoke with a Glasgow language, with a Glasgow accent. You know, I love Glasgow. I love people from Glasgow, but you know, the way they pronounce words is very different. So there are huge things that are a consequence of that, and obviously that has a lot of implications. The thing, remember, you shape AI by talking to applications. AI is going to shape you, because once the application has AI embedded, and embedded AI is what really comes out of it, you know, once they ask you, they're not going to give you a menu with a choice. They're going to ask you what the choice is. Once you always choose the same thing, they're going to choose the same thing without telling you.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're going to make decisions for you. So be prepared for that too. You know, sorry, maybe we should just leave it to that. I see some people are leaving the conference. I have one last thought before maybe that I would like to leave the audience. It's going to take just 30 seconds. But, you know, I give it back to you. I know you want to do some conclusive remark. I'll go after you.
Yeah, okay. Guys, we are on time, I see, but if you can stick for 30 more seconds, would be lovely. Thanks for joining, everybody. Afterwards, you will receive an email after the session with all the topics that we have discussed. But also, there will be a very important link there for you guys. So we had 8 topics here. It is a lot of content. We saw a lot of content there. So if you want to schedule a one-on-one session so we can talk to you specifically to some point, or specifically to something that you want to discuss about your API strategy or integration strategy, you can reach out. We will on that link you'll be able to schedule a one-on-one with Paolo. So we will schedule that and make the most to attend to your time and schedule that session. All right. So Paolo, back to you. Closing remarks.
Closing remarks. Do not underestimate the way AI will shape you. Okay? Do not underestimate that, because we're humans, and this basically what we are buying with AI is a way to restrict our decision power, which is something that we might want in some cases if the decisions are easy. But then, you know, it's going to take over much, much earlier than we think it's going to. Okay? So always think about the humans. Everybody talks about the technology of AI. Nobody talks about the human side of AI and the way that we relate to them. So you'll never, ever underestimate that, and beware of AI washing. Okay. Not everything that says it's AI, it really is AI. As a matter of fact, very little of it really is.